All right, welcome to the May edition of the Key Ministry Disability Ministry Video Roundtable. My name is Beth Golick from Key Ministry, and my colleague Catherine Boyle, who's our Director of Mental Health Ministry, is here as well. And today we're talking about creating a church culture where everybody has the opportunity to serve and to serve using their gifts. And so what I'd like to do today is really just have a conversation. I want to hear what your experience has been at your church, particularly if you're a person with a disability. How have you been able to serve? What obstacles you're seeing at your church? What tools maybe you're using. I know I'm so glad to see Ryan Wolf from Ability Ministry is on here because he has a fabulous tool to identify people's gifts. And so I just want to kind of open it up, encourage everybody to participate, whether you have questions or if you have experience in this. Either you've personally experienced being able to use your gifts or experienced a culture where that's been more difficult. Let's have that conversation today. So I'll open it up to anybody who'd like to start. If anybody has anything to start, and then if not, I'm going to call on Ryan to share some of his wisdom. Would anybody like to start? All right, Mr. Wolf, you're up.
All right. Well, first of all, I'm excited that this conversation is happening, and I think the current climate of churches, as churches are reopening, as churches are engaging, mask mandates are dropping off. I think a lot of churches are looking around the landscape and saying, where are all of our volunteers? Not all of them have returned. Some of them got comfortable with not volunteering, and I think that churches, if they look within the disability community, within the populations around them, there's a pretty ripe harvest that's ready to jump in and volunteer, and so that's exciting to me. Is I'm hoping that conversations like this will help energize people to step up and say, hey, let's stop using the same 20% to serve in the church, the 20-80 rule, and let's start tapping into a group of people that's probably really eager to serve, but might just need to be asked to jump in and serve. So at our church, at First Christian, where I attend, it's really neat to see a lot of our individuals that are in our adult disability ministry are greeters and ushers, and they'll pass out communion offering. And I think that's probably where most people will start and stop with volunteering opportunities. And what I've loved to watch and see at our church is how our adults with disabilities have gotten plugged into serving within children's ministry. Has been a great place for them. So they've been buddies. They have helped with large group worship, with sign language. And so children's ministry has been a great place for them to plug in and serve. A lot of our teens with disabilities at our church are plugged into serving with the AV team. Most of the cameras that get run and the operations behind the scenes, all the buttons that get pushed and with the audio visual are run by a lot of our teens that would probably fall into the high functioning autism, category. They've grown up with electronics. They're so much better at electronics than 90% of us probably on this call. So getting them plugged into serving on like the AV team is just such a natural fit. A lot of our teens, again, will serve in areas like running the AV for the children's ministry, large group environments. It's just a great training ground. So there are so many places to get people plugged in to serve. If you've got a cafe or if you've got anything like that at your church, it's another great thing. What we did is we developed, and I'll drop it here in the chat, a link to it. We developed a gifts assessment tool. It's just a one-page document. So on the front of that document is just basically all positives. There's no negatives on our inventory, which is one of the things that we try to focus on is, what are you good at? What do you enjoy? What do people say about you that you're really good at? So to try to help people identify some common themes, there's also a list of all the spiritual gifts on the front side. And then if you flip over the document, when you link to it, on the back side, we've got, I think, at least 15 different typical serving areas with multiple positions underneath each of them. And what you may not notice, unless I point it out, is that the serving opportunities on the back of the sheet are in alphabetical order, with the exception of the very first service category, and that's leadership, because that's where I think most churches are missing the boat, because they will readily put somebody with disabilities in charge of greeting at a door, but they'll hesitate to put them in a position of leadership. So that's why on this inventory, we wanted to put that category first out of alphabetical order on purpose, so it stands out, to be a challenge to churches to not overlook the fact that people can serve as an elder or a deacon, or be a leader in a worship type environment. So I'm hopeful that this inventory will help churches, again, identify some of those positives, those interests, the things that people are good at, find a common theme, flip over the inventory, and try to find a spot within the local church where people typically can plug in and serve, and then just kind of go from there and test the waters. One thing that we're developing, and I'll be quiet here in just a second, I promise. One of the things that we're developing, we're getting ready to launch in a couple weeks, is a new curriculum series called Everyone Can Lead. It's a 4-week series of lessons on leadership. So we talk about how everyone can be a leader based on the example that Jesus gave to his disciples when he was teaching them on what it means to be great, right? You can be great if you take the position of a servant. And I believe everyone can serve because God's given gifts to serve. So this entire series is teaching people how they can be a leader. And this gifts inventory that I dropped in the chat section here is a big part of the practical application of the series Everyone Can Lead. So be on the watch out for that. It's in the editing stage now, so it's probably a couple of weeks from hitting our store. So again, I'll be quiet.
No, I am so glad you're here, because this is such fantastic information. So I encourage everybody to go ahead and download the gifts assessment that Ryan put in there. Now you'll notice that his church has a lot of opportunities that maybe some of our churches don't. They have a big campus with, you have a sports program, like you have a lot of really cool opportunities. But I think you can modify that. And as Christine said in the chat, she's going to modify that, adapt it to fit their needs. So I highly recommend you check that out. And I'm looking forward to that curriculum as well. So abilityministry.com, you can check out the curriculum that's currently offered and it's coming down the road. And yes, Ryan, I agree. This is such a timely topic. Again, we're all kind of struggling with a lack of volunteers right now. And so that's one reason why. Another resource and another reason why this is such a timely topic, if you haven't yet had a chance to check out Lamar Hardwick's book, Disability in the Church, there's a lot of information in there about including everyone, including those with disabilities in the entire life of the church, which includes serving. And both in that book, and if you go to the Key Ministry blogs, I encourage you to check out what Amberly Brown has written about serving into your gifting. So again, just this really, really good information. And I encourage each of us to kind of check out what some of our ministry leaders have to offer about this. Who else would like to share either what's going on at your church or personally, or what are some questions or obstacles that you're looking at these days? And we're on 2 screens now, so I'm gonna. Okay, hi Bob, how are you?
I'm sorry. Good. I'm sorry, didn't mean to interrupt, but as a blind individual, I know the difficulties that can come into play, and part of it is the trepidation of the people that are already in place. And sometimes it's a matter of simply stepping forward. And for me, one of the biggest things that I was able to do is if I can demonstrate that I have the abilities uh, to provide my own accommodations, or if I can make my own accommodations, then it was much easier for me to start taking roles within my local church. For example, I have to make a speech on Sunday, and by simply enlarging the text on a tablet, that provided the accommodation by myself to be able to accomplish that. And I think that a lot of times that's helpful. The other thing that I've noticed over the years is that if you can get a person with a disability to talk with other people with disabilities within the church, that seems to make a tremendous difference as well. To have someone who uh, understands some of the stigmas, that sort of thing, that are going on, and I think that can go a very long way to help someone feel confident to be able to do that, and then have that person be able to begin to discern the types of talents and gifts that they have. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. That is super good information. So a couple things that really stood out to me about what you said. So first of all, just have those conversations. So, and actually, Bob, this is so incredibly timely for me because I just got contacted by a teenager who has, who's a very active part of our church, and she's blind, and she would like to serve in the special needs ministry. So on my list of things to do today is give her a call and see, like, awesome. We would love for you to serve. What are you picturing? Like what kind of accommodations can we make to make that successful for you? So have those conversations. And then the other thing you pointed out, oh, yes, and then have individuals with disabilities talk to other individuals with disabilities to really increase the opportunities for everybody to be involved. So I love that. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Yes, Tony.
A couple things. Number one, a lot of the people in the special needs community just have really, really good hearts and have perceptions that some of us don't. So they actually make pretty good servants. We hired an admin person for our Jacob's Ladder group that has CP. Her name is Sarah. She's a college graduate, and she does a great job. And one of the things I'd like to say is look for opportunities maybe outside the church. It doesn't have to be necessarily in the church to serve. We're doing we did a thing for the Upside of Downs, the local community here in Cleveland, where we cleaned up the beach at Edgewater Park on World Down Syndrome Day. So we had all our kids come down, and we spent a couple hours just picking up bottles and cans and stuff like that. And I guess one of my things is our guys need to learn to serve. That's good. That's good for people to do that. And we're also doing our fitness instructor. One of our fitness instructors is my son, who's a special needs guy. So we're trying to do that with in that area. And look, there's a ministry that we're looking at serving that delivers food to people in the inner city, and we want our kids to come down and help pack the cars to deliver the food. So I guess what I'm saying in general is there's opportunities to serve. They may not necessarily be within your church, but there's some opportunities in the community, and if you partner with some people, they'll be glad to to make it happen.
All right, thank you, Tony. So you hit on one of my favorite things to talk about, which is collaborating between the church and the community. So that's those are some great examples. So thank you for bringing that up. Who else would like to talk?
I would love to share, and I'm sorry I'm driving, so I'm not on my.
Okay, all right.
Can't show you who I am, but my name is Wayne Sapp. I represent the Journey Church in Newark, Delaware, and what And I'm sorry, because I'm driving, I didn't see who spoke, but that was an amazing thing, because I've been looking for so many opportunities with our young adult special needs ministry to do things to get them together. And we just hosted a movie night last Friday where we had 24 families come in, and we did an indoor movie night for the young adults, and it was amazing. But what beautiful opportunity to represent Jesus and to teach him the power of serving as well. So that just gets my head spinning of creating, instead of looking for events to get together for fun, we can also look together for fun and serving others, whether it's through picking up trash like you just mentioned, or finding a way. We have a thing in our church called Love Week. Every August we host 1 week, and our outreach team just goes out through all the we call it Journey City, which is 30-mile radius of our church, and serve in various communities and things like that. So I'm definitely thinking of the special needs ministry going out and being a group and serving somewhere. So thank you for sharing that. That is powerful.
That's great. Thank you for sharing, Wayne, and drive carefully. And we live to make people's heads spin. Like, that's what these calls are all about. So that's great. Thank you. Greg, you have your hand raised.
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of jump in a little bit. I'm kind of new to the group. I've been following some of the recordings from a distance. My wife and I are just working on a new emerging ministry in Green Bay, Wisconsin called You Belong. And one of the pieces we're looking at is developing our art program to have art classes and doing things where we're creating different pieces of the canvas painting and then selling those pieces and then using the proceeds from that to nourish our care package family ministries where we're collecting items for our families. So it's a great little looped around each other to kind of feed into one another, some opportunities for people to do it that way. And it's been off to a great start for us.
I love that. And do share the link when you have cards available, which reminds me, I need to order more cards by Max. So I need to get on that. Yes, Ryan.
Just another opportunity I'll throw out to the group as you're trying to think of different ways to get people excited about serving. At the end of this month, we're going to open up a retreat center on our Tennessee campus at Riverwood. And it is going to be available for anybody to take short-term mission trips to our campus to do work jobs, all kinds of work around our campus. And spend time with our residents. Dollywood's not far away. Gatlinburg's not far away. So you can make it a fun work trip. So if you have a group of adults or teens, doesn't matter, that want to kind of flex their serving muscles, we've got endless jobs down at our Tennessee campus. And we'd love to host you. Right now, we've got 8 short-term mission trips lined up for the summer. The pre-pandemic, we had like 18 every summer of churches coming to our Tennessee campus to serve. So if that's something that you're interested in, it doesn't have to be a summer thing. We can do like weekend retreats now that we have our retreat center open. We'll have like a guy's bunk and a girl's bunk in there that can house probably up to about 40 people on a trip. So you can bring a group as big or small as you'd like. But if you want more information about that and just do a service trip, it'd be a great opportunity. We'd love to host you in Louisville, Tennessee, which is outside of Knoxville.
Okay, that's awesome. So can they learn more about that at abilityministry.com?
Yeah, or just send me a message. Okay. But yeah, check out abilityministry.com.
Okay. And also in the chat, so Greg shared the website for You Belong, which is youbelongwi for Wisconsin.org. And he's interested in if anyone is doing some art or craft focused ministry, he would love to chat more.
Can I say a word right there?
Absolutely.
So several years ago, Greg, the church that I attend had kind of a focus on the arts for a season, and recognizing that there were people that had not only musical gifts where they would be up on stage in the worship band or taking their turn, but so there was something about like dance. I don't remember what that was. It was like ballet type dance. But we actually had a small art gallery that was set up for a while where people who were artistically gifted could provide some of their items. I don't think they called, but I'm pretty sure I've heard of churches doing that in the past as a way to encourage people to use that gift, because imitating the beauty that God creates is absolutely, a gift that he has given some people. So, kudos to you for pursuing this.
All right, who would like any other examples? Just looking around, got a lot of people on this call today. What? Oh, go ahead. Who's?
It's me.
Oh, hi, Jill.
I'll say real quickly, one of the things we're doing that's similar is we have a garden at church. Right now we have a flower garden, and then we're expanding to do a vegetable garden next year. And we're outside of Houston, so we can grow things almost year round. And we just have found that our ministry right now is teens and then really young adults that we serve, but they really enjoy the sameness of watering and seeing things grow. And they've just done a really good job taking care of our plants and making that part of our routine on Sundays and on Wednesdays. And then our family goes up and takes care of it on the other days of the week because we live close. So, along with art and all these things, gardening has been a real blessing and then they're sharing that with the people they know, and they feel like that's service too. So it's been fun.
That's a great one. And so if you're not following Sandra Peoples on Instagram, I suggest you do, because you'll get to see some really fun pictures of watering the garden. So I love that you have that opportunity. First of all, I'm jealous of your weather, blah, blah. But I love that you have that opportunity, because it's such a hands-on, it's a cool opportunity that maybe all of our churches don't have. So let's see, Avdi and Christina are joining for the first time today. They are starting a special needs ministry in the Middle East. I'm reading from the chat. They've been there about 4 years already, and they're collecting contacts and resources to help be better equipped to reach those of all abilities and their families in unreached places. That is super cool. So welcome. Thanks for being here today. The question that we are discussing, I forgot as well. We're talking about just what opportunities maybe does your church have, or what obstacles in your church culture? Julie.
So our Amy loves drama, and she's had 2 opportunities that have really fed her soul. So Amy has Charge syndrome. She looks like she's 10, but she's 26, and a myriad of other things going on with her. But they have given her the opportunity to work in drama with VBS, because the children come into a room and they get to watch stories, and Amy gets to participate in that drama. And she just loves it, and she can't wait to do it again. And then we have at Thomas Road a big thing that we do at Christmas time called the Virginia Christmas Spectacular. And that is a drama with a gospel message for the community. And people bus in from like hours away for this thing. And Amy gets to be on stage for that. Now, she's a very small role, but she doesn't care. As long as she's on the stage, she's as happy as can be. So both of those opportunities have just fed her soul.
That's great. And I've seen Amy on social media, and she has quite a presence, small body, but quite a presence. So what a blessing for your church and for her. So that's great. In the chat, a lot of the disability ministry organizations that are part of these monthly roundtables are sharing their websites. So there's so many great resources represented just here today. So there's soarsspecialneeds.org and allbelong.org, and of course keyministry.org. So if you are looking to kind of get started in this or take it to the next level, or you have questions, I do encourage you to check out all of these great organizations. Oh, yes, thank you, Dan. So Dan shared the 5stages.com. So it's and then the number 5stages.com. So there's some good resources on disability attitudes on that site as well. Thank you for sharing that. Who else would like to share? Yes,
hey,
Alison, hello.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
So I'm a good friend of Wayne Sapp, so I also think he's a very safe driver, so we should be okay. But I just wanted to add a couple of things that we've been able to do recently, and mainly from ideas here, but one was really sweet where I've been doing a pizza craft pickup through COVID, and we've also started a dad's group, and one of the dads said, yeah, my son, who is 16 and on the autistic spectrum, said, I want to serve, but I want to go work in the church. So we had conversations about what that might look like, and he now comes and preps my craft that I then give out to my special needs families. So he's coming and he's helping organize the bags and set up all the activities for me. So that's been great. So it's a double win for that I get somebody to help me, and also it's one of my kids. But also we've got, but like what I think it was Ryan was talking about, we have opportunity to serve the local community by doing food pickups. So I've specifically have invited the Night to Shine guests to our next one as helpers for prepping the food and getting it ready and packing it, because it's our students are doing it this month. It's on Saturday. So they're the ones that are doing all the work. And I've included my Night to Shine guests to be part of that. And I took accommodations like, if you want to see a video of what it's like, so you've got less anxiety about how it works, we've got videos to share. We also looked into specific roles, if they were either non-verbal or wheelchair bound, and what that looks like. So I'm hoping that we'll have some takers for that this coming weekend. And then going forward, we do this each month. So I'm making sure it reaches our Night to Shine groups out there as well. And some of them, the older ones who might not want to join in with the students, but some of our older guests might want to come and join in at future events. So just wanted to share that.
I love that. So, so I'm hearing a couple things. One, you're working with other ministries in the church. So that's really great. And I also liked how you kind of removed one of the obstacles, and that is like the anxiety or like the unknown about, you know, I don't know if I could serve, I don't know what it's like, but by providing or offering to have the videos of what it's like, I think that's just a wonderful thing. So it takes a little bit of more work on the front end for you, but then, you know, now you've created these opportunities. So I love that. Thanks for sharing, Allison. Sorry, I couldn't see you. Were on my second screen and I couldn't see you waving your hand. Anybody else? Oh, looking around.
I just think a good general concept, and I think this is not news to anyone, is just the idea of extending grace, because service opportunities work out for some people and don't work out for others. And people shouldn't feel like if they try something, they have to stick with it forever. So I would say, you know, as we're working with individuals, just extend grace and encouragement, obviously, and celebrate those when it does work out. Celebrate it, but no shame on letting somebody try something for 2-3 weeks, and then just letting them say it's not for them. And it's not a shameful thing. It's just a matter of trying to find the right and perfect fit. So don't give up, but continue to allow people a short trial period to see if they're finding their fit.
Yeah, I love that. That's a really good point, Ryan. And you know, some of our service opportunities are kind of a one and done type event, and it's actually not a bad idea to have some of those plus some of the consistent serving opportunities. So that does give people a chance to, you know, like try out some different things without kind of being stuck in something that is not a good fit for them. All right, so we have, so Tony has met, and so Tony lives in my geographic area, so I'll take out the geographic part since we're a national call, but his organization, which is Jacob's Ladder Fitness, is partnering with FCA, which is Fellowship of Christian Athletes, to do an all abilities camp. So I don't know if that perhaps might be something that's happening all over the country, but that's happening here in Northeast Ohio. Okay, we have J, I don't know what J stands for. This is their first call. We have a question. Wondering if any churches, oh, okay, so this is not related to this. Okay, you know what? Let's save. This would be a great question for the idea share. So I'm gonna hold off on this question, and we will we'll talk about it. Well, let's see. Yeah, we'll talk about that in an upcoming idea share. Catherine mentioned that the videos of what it's like is something we've encouraged churches to do to minimize anxiety for both kids and adults. These can be on the church website ongoing. Yeah, that just helps everybody. So I love that. So kudos, Allison, for getting that done. And Victoria from All Belong mentions that they call those church welcome stories, and it's a template is available on allbelong.org/church. So definitely check that out. I love that.
Can I throw something out here?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so for those of you who were able to attend or be involved with Inclusion Fusion, one of the things that we had was a panel where we had a variety of different individuals talking about diversity and disability. And one of those individuals is a gentleman who has cerebral palsy. And the comments that he made were very, very deep spiritually. And I mean, I haven't really interacted with him in the past, but I was really struck by that. And I don't think that that's uncommon for a lot of people who have lived with disability. And I just wanted to share something that I come from a church that my husband and I have been in this church for a long time. And we've certainly done some things wrong there, but gosh, we have done a lot of things that are like right and just kind of came up with solutions to be inclusive, where we had the opportunity. But one of those things was years ago, my husband was in a small group with a gentleman who was paralyzed from the neck down when he was 20 years old. And he had, a wife and 3 kids. And anyway, it was very difficult for him to get out to church, he wanted to be in small group ministry, men's ministry. And so long story short, they ended up meeting at his house regularly for several years. And so he became kind of the de facto small group leader. So I'm just throwing that out there as an idea, but also to hear from others if that is something that you have done or you have seen, just to see, what the experience has been like, in other churches and organizations.
So does anybody have anything they'd like to share to answer that regarding like small groups and including?
Yeah, I mean, like in like small group leadership.
Mm-hmm.
So I can say something. I can't really turn my camera on. It's Andrea.
Hi, Andrea.
Hi. So my husband and I, as you know, we have twins with disabilities, and really hard for us to get to small group things sometimes unless we arrange a babysitter, which is, not impossible. But we went through a couple different sort of seasons of being in small groups where we were the leaders, and everyone came to our house. And in general, it's easier for everyone to come to our house and for me to have, either a caregiver kind of take the twins upstairs or downstairs or wherever away from the room we're meeting. It's ideal if you have a big enough space, I think, and you can then still be open with your small group, if there's prayer time that's confidential or, things like that. And for us, it was fine because we don't live in a huge house, but we have a, big enough space that they could go upstairs and close doors and all of that. So it might be something that special needs parents can do for a time. Like you said, it might not be like, okay, we're going to do this for 10 years and make a big commitment, or even just try it out for like a season, like a fall or a spring, or a rotating thing where it's not at your house the whole time every week. So just being flexible with it is really the key. That was the key for us. I was mostly leading the actual study, but sometimes it was just our house that was the place, like we were doing the hospitality part, right? So
I
yeah.
love that. Yeah. And what I love is that people were just kind of thinking about what the options could be. So
Yeah.
in this particular case, it was actually easier for you to be the host site. You know, and that might not be the case for every family, but just being able to consider different ways of doing things might be a way to include more people. So thank you for sharing that, Andrea. And then also the point that, you know, this might not be a 10-year commitment. It might work really well for a particular season in your life. You know, like I'm thinking there may be some families that have like an incredible, you know, fenced in backyard with maybe a play set and a nice big patio. Well, that might be an awesome place for a small group to meet during the summer. But then maybe they don't want to host in, you know, December.
And can I just add one more thing
Sure.
to that? So also dividing up the responsibilities. So if we hosted in our home, it wasn't like we provided all the snacks and the coffee and everything. It was sort of like a team effort, like who's doing this, who's doing that. And I'm more inclined to do it all. That's my nature, but I've realized that I can't. It's actually more of a team thing then as well, if everybody has a little part to play. And then and it's done that way as well. If we've gone into other homes, like I might be the person leading the study, but I'm not bringing the homemade baked goods.
Yeah,
like
that's so smart, Andrea.
Yeah.
And it's such a good reminder to us, because putting all of that responsibility on one person or one family is a super good way to get to burnout, really.
Right.
So that's great. I want to mention something that was shared in the chat. So Darla said that her church hosts Feed My Starving Children, and the night, so that's like an event of like a service event. And the night prior, they have a night for those with special needs to serve with a more relaxed environment. I love that idea. So this is Stonebriar Community in Frisco, which is such a great idea, just to provide that opportunity to serve, but in an environment that is, you know, going to make some people perhaps more successful, more relaxed, more comfortable. Maybe it's a little more sensory friendly. Also, Diana is sharing that there are many online leadership opportunities for those with physical disabilities. And boy, we've all learned a lot more about online opportunities this last, whatever, 14 months or whatever it's been. Allison's mom in England has an inclusive small group, and they rotate whether they Zoom or whether they go to the communal living area in a residential setting for 2 of their adults. This usually means they have extra guests join them. So that's like a great perk, that you're actually including more people than the people that you're trying to include. So that's wonderful. Thank you for sharing that, Allison. Doc.
Yeah, so one thing that we're doing, it's just been cool to see how God's working through this and opening some doors. But, you know, one thing that God's laid on my heart, you know, nowhere in the Bible does it say only those with an IQ over 70 should go over into all the world and share the gospel. It says all go into the world and share the gospel. And so, you know, there are many wonderful organizations that do missions trips for special needs, go and serve individuals with special needs. But I have yet to find an organization that will take families with disabilities to go serve other families. So God's laid that on our heart at SOAR, and that's been one of our goals. But God's been moving up that timeline, and we're in the process of setting that up. We've got 2 key partners now, one in Belize and one in Kenya, where in Belize, we're helping create a special needs family camp, where we'd be able to take families down there and serve overnight camp and do that. And then Kenya, we're creating just all kinds of things, church ministry, sports camp ministry, family camps, and all kinds of things there. So gonna hopefully in the next 18 months, we'll have some actual ministry opportunities where we can partner with churches and be able to take families with disabilities to actually go be the hands and feet of Jesus, change their perspective, help them see that all those things that they complain about all the time here, having to wait 45 minutes for a therapy appointment, having another bad day because of just having another meltdown, is nothing when you can go into these other countries where it's actually shamed if you have a child with special needs. They don't have no therapy. And so these kids are actually curled into balls. And so it changes their perspective. At the same time, it gives these families their hope that and see what can really happen when you've got a family and when you actually give care and that, and just share Jesus with them. So cool, some cool things where we're going to actually plan on using individuals with disabilities and their families to go share Jesus to other people. We're excited about that.
That's great. Thanks. Keep us posted on those opportunities. Very cool. In the chat, Tony shared the idea or the importance of providing captioning, and Diana's church uses captioning, uses closed caption a lot. I've learned a little bit more lately about how to create closed captioning, and so it's depending on if you're doing YouTube or whatever. There's different ways you can do it, but yeah, that's a great service for everybody, not just those with particular disabilities, but maybe people who English isn't their first language, or I mean, I know I do better if I can see it and hear it at the same time. So that's a great idea. Anything else? Oh, good. Wayne has arrived at his destination. Awesome. Anybody have like any church culture obstacles that you're really struggling with that maybe we can help out?
I can share about that a little bit. I hate to be like I don't know, Debbie Downer, because this has all been so positive, but yes, like I feel like I often am able to share some barriers to accessibility, inclusion, and integration. So I was just thinking as I was listening, so a couple of the barriers that we have within, I work at Watermark Community Church in the Dallas, Texas area, is that we have a very kind of structured membership process where in most of our ministries, you have to be a member of our church to serve. And so sometimes the membership process itself, because it involves going through what we call community formation and becoming part of a community group, which can often be a barrier to people with disabilities, especially people on the autism spectrum or people with an intellectual disability. There's only a mainstream path. And so one of the things I've been advocating for since I've been on staff is that we need alternate paths and accommodations and lots of different options. And so I've just, that in general though, I'm learning within the church, when we have kind of a set path, and in order to serve, you have to be on that path, it can just be really discouraging. So I often get the emails and calls from people who have tried that path but have hit different barriers and then they're discouraged. And so I just want to put that out there, just thinking about different ways to just address that and to collaborate across ministries, but would love to hear if any of you have experienced those types of barriers and like what types of strategies or conversations you had that made a difference in just softening hearts and opening eyes to needing just different paths for folks.
Thank you for sharing that. And that's a really good question. And it says Diana raised her hand, but I can't find Diana on here.
I'm here.
You are. Okay, there you are.
I'm hiding. I'm not on the camera
Got
today.
it. Okay.
And I can pull my hand down. So, okay. Yes, I thank you, Lynn, because I oftentimes feel like that there are those obstacles, and I'm facing a similar one right now, which it's not our membership. Our membership is like easy peasy. We're in San Antonio, but in order to serve, they put in a new process this year and it's through an organization called Ministry Safe, which is an incredible amount of work to be a servant in our church, I think, because they are wanting to, and their reasoning is good. It's to prevent sexual abuse. To be a servant, you have to watch I almost would say disturbing video. And you have to answer questions through online as well as an interview process, which has been a challenge to me. And I've been praying about it and processing it. But one of the things that I found is, and this is a process that even to be a volunteer at our Vacation Bible School this summer, and you have to have 3 references, and someone actually listed me as a reference, and I went through that and I didn't know what it entailed, and I'm astounded at what it is. So but on a positive note, what I'm working at is to say, if we have someone with special needs that wants to serve, and so far it hasn't met any barriers, but it hasn't gone in place yet, that we need an alternative route. So that if we have a 25-year-old that wants to serve with children in VBS, she is not going to watch the video on sexual abuse. And so I would just say, Lynn, just to forge forward on that, and look towards getting as many people on board. To me, it's a no-brainer. I mean, you're not going to put a middle schooler through that who's going to volunteer at the elementary VBS. So why would you put somebody whose ability level, I don't like to ever put levels at any stage, but I think that thanks for bringing that up, because this is a real thing, and it's real in these churches, and this is like the great opportunity to discuss this. And I would love to get any more feedback and ideas, because I am just astounded at this challenge that I'm facing as well.
That's a really interesting point. Does anybody else have specific at their church where there's a specific path that, whether it's the Ministry in the Light or Ministry Safe or whatever, that is going to be a barrier?
Yeah.
Doc.
Yeah, so we had the same thing when I was on staff at our church. You had to be a member of the church, have a strong statement of faith, yada, yada, yada. My problem was I didn't have enough volunteers to get what I needed. And I had a large number of people outside the church who were interested in serving and wanted to serve, but we weren't able to have them serve because they didn't attend a church and they didn't do that. So being on the pastoral staff, I went to our pastoral staff and I challenged them. I said, look, especially if you're working as a buddy, the buddy is a guide on the side. They're there to help them out. They're not teaching anything. Biblically, they're helping them. That's what the teacher is in the class for. I'm fine with that. But can we make the exception for that for them so that we can open up? And I challenged them that we would then make this as an outreach where really we could be bringing others in. We prayed about it and did that, made the exception for the special needs ministry for buddies to be able to do that. And I'll tell you what, it has been a tremendous blessing. We have led many volunteers to Christ, brought their entire families to Christ, and seen tremendous growth with that, because they come, they want to serve 2, 3, 5 hours a weekend. And I can't tell you the number of people that would stop me and go, okay, Doc, what's this Jesus stuff all about? And then we get to share. I think to me, there's good intentions with the church, with everything, but sometimes we allow that to interfere with how we actually take care of our people. And so, when we unpack that, it really opened the gate. And when you bring it to the point of trying to do outreach, it helps. We also had the same thing with our individuals with special needs trying to serve. I had an individual who's nonverbal. He wasn't able to state his statement of faith and do everything that they were requiring. And so, again, I called out and said, we are actually discriminating, and that's exactly opposite of what Jesus did. And again, if we look at Jesus when he was here on earth, he was constantly around all those with disabilities. He really was the very first special needs pastor. And if we want to be more like him, we need to help them, and we're all called to serve. And it's an injustice if we've got individuals with disabilities who want to serve and we tell them no. Who are we? We can't be doing that as a church. And so we've got to remove those barriers. And so they agreed with me with the points I made, and then open it up. And they're some of the favorite volunteers in the church, with the things that they're doing, whether they be greeters or whatever it is. They're awesome. And so it's just having those candid conversations and trying to figure out, again, addressing this situation. Hey, we understand these rules are in place and they're good rules. However, it can't be one rule fits all. we need to make some adjustments, and especially when we're dealing with our friends and our families, we need to see how we can best use it. If we can welcome in other people to the church, because I don't know a single church that doesn't want to have outreach and welcome others and share Jesus with them. When you can do that and show that it works, and do it in a safe way, they usually are open to it. So those are some of the things I'd try. We did it, and it's been extremely successful.
Yeah, thanks for sharing your experience, Doc. It's this is a tricky one because those protection policies are at churches for a reason. And yet I absolutely hear what you're saying, how if that's like the only path to serve, it can be too much of an obstacle. So yeah, Lynn, good luck. No, I hope I hope that
I'm gonna get Doc to come and be in that meeting with me.
There you
So
go.
far, I haven't been successful.
I'm sure he'll do
in
it
getting
via Zoom.
a seat at the
I'm
table in
happy
that
to.
meeting. So maybe Doc can help me with that too.
I have no problem being bold in those meetings.
Yes. I want to before we end today. There's some. I just want to make sure I've covered everything in the chat. So, Greg shared, and this is just a really good. This is a really good thought. So as they're getting You Belong started as a new ministry, they're working to be very attentive to how they're describing their vision and hope for what they're doing. So what the fear is being interpreted as starting a segregated, marginalized ministry compared to a fully integrated ministry. And I think what we're talking about here is how we want this, to be a fully integrated thing at our churches. So they want it to be a fully integrated ministry that uplifts all abilities across the board in all that we do. Has anyone found some helpful phrases or certain words that have helped to articulate the idea of something new that is made for everyone compared to people getting caught up on the lifelong bias of separation when it comes to disabilities?
Yeah, and I'll follow that up, Beth, by just saying right now, the best verbiage we've found is better together. And that speaks to a whole lot of things right now, but better together. And how does that shape us a little bit? So I'm open to any other ideas people have.
Yeah, Victoria has her hand raised, so maybe she has an idea.
Yeah, my favorite phrase that we like to talk about is universal design, right? It's what architects use to talk about how they put an elevator into the building because they expect people with varied abilities to be there to use the building. And so we just expect people with varied abilities to be worshiping with us. So we put things in place that we call universal design, right? So that means that we put closed captioning on our videos. We put large print options on things if we're going to have print materials. We have accessible entrances, and we have things set up so that we're welcoming people of all abilities, but we're not just talking about people with disabilities all the time, right? We're just saying, hey, this helps every single one of us, like those church welcome stories, right? That alleviates anxiety, and that's super helpful for those who really, really need it. But honestly, it helps every single one of us. So that language has been really helpful as we talk to churches about things. In fact, some large organizations that support worship initiatives across the globe have captured that idea. And so universal design for worship has sort of become this catchphrase in a lot of the circles that we work in. So that's just a phrase that I would suggest to you. And if you want to talk more about it, I'd love to. I know we're kind of running short on time.
Yeah,
so
that's great. You're getting some shout outs in the chat. So yes, so you can reach Victoria at allbelong.org. All right, I think I am going to end it here because we've gone, wow, 55 minutes. Okay. So great discussion today, people. I really appreciate it. Personally, I appreciate it as I go back to my church and work on some of these things, but I love just how you all have used your gifts today to serve this conversation. We do have the idea share, which is now a monthly roundtable just like this. It's on the first Monday of each month. And so the question that was in the chat that wasn't related to the chosen, we'll discuss that on the next idea share, because that one's a little more open to whatever topic we want to talk about. So you can register for the idea share at keyministry.org/events. And if you've ever registered, you'll get the link. We send it to you each month. Thanks again, everybody, for participating. We'll get this recording up so you can share it with others or re-listen, and we will see you next month.